Okay, Lance, that's checkered flag. That's checkered flag. We'll explain what happened. We'll explain later.
Yeah, man, what the fuck?
We'll explain later.
I believe that what we saw in Lance Stroll's reaction to what took place in Abu Dhabi was an authentic reaction, and I'll come to why later in this video. What I'm going to do is go through some of Lance Stroll's audio at Abu Dhabi and expose the things that were authentic, the things that you would expect, and the parts where his race engineer is just compliant with the narrative. So what you see, tracker view, Nicholas Latifi has just crashed. His blue dot has become stationary at turn 14. At that moment in time, Lance Stroll has just rounded turn 5 and is on this top straight going along, will be going along towards turn 6. So I'm going to pick up his audio along there. In fact, I'm going to fast forward a bit because I think it's as he's on his way down towards turn 9 that we see the light panels on the side of the track turn to yellow to indicate a safety car, and that's when we hear his race engineer talking. What you hear from the race engineer is an explanation of what's going on and what Lance needs to be mindful of, which is standard. If you are watching if you're concerned about your driver, you would want to be looking at the data view. You'd be looking at the lap times of everybody around you, the sector times of everybody around you that you're in the race with. You'd want to look at tracker view to see what was going on track. And certainly, for example, in Sainz's case, if I was Sainz's race engineer and I saw the dot in front of him come to a standstill, I'd want to give Sainz some warning that just be careful there. It might be a glitch, but there might be a car on track that's come to a standstill. So these are the sorts of things you need to be mindful of when you're communicating to your driver to give them a heads up about what they might be encountering on the track. Anyway, we're going to go into what Lance Stroll, his race engineer, was saying, and we will break some of it down. Okay, we can now see Stroll. This is turn 8, that Yas Marina Circuit bridge. You can see the light panel on the side of the track where I'm trying to wave my cursor at the moment. That's flashing yellow, so that's indicating safety car. And this is where we're going to pick up Lance Stroll's audio and play it through, exposing certain things. Here we go.
Safety car, safety car, safety car. Run switch cool, stay positive.
We should box, no?
We are boxing, windows open, Lance, box, box. Latifi is outside of 14, Latifi is in the barrier, exit of 14, pit lane will be busy, Latifi is on the wall outside of 14.
So he's just passed him that information, and Lance is coming round 13 at the moment. Okay, so ahead of Lance arriving on the scene of the crash, his race engineer is giving him the warning. That's where the obstacle is on track. That's where the issue is. I would show you this, I just can't. It will get blocked on copyright, unfortunately. So I have to keep doing it this way. Okay, that was the amount of time it took. But Lance is given the information of what he needs to be wary of on track. So they pit Lance, they go through the process, and I'm now going to fast forward to the next elements of note in these communications. And again, just so that you know, this is Lance exiting the pits, having just changed his tyres onto these, the ones with the red marks on them, which means they're fresh, soft compound tyres. These tyres that can help you gain places, because that's the best tyre to be on. That's what Aston have put him on. So this is Lance having exited the pits. He's now at turn 5 where Verstappen did that lunge on that lap 58. Now this demonstrates what Lance knows about the rules of the sport, and I'll explain in a second.
I have to follow my delta.
Yes.
Okay. So for the first couple of laps after the safety car is deployed, the drivers have to follow the delta, which will appear on that panel on their steering wheel, which is it slows them all down to a set time that's been set by the FIA ECU effectively. That's the way it's described in the regulations. After that, then these cars can actually speed up a bit to catch the back of the pack so that they all can form this snake. But for the first 2 laps, their speed is all controlled. That's by the regulations. They have to do that, otherwise they'll get penalties for that. So Lance knows this. Lance is a Formula One driver. He knows what he has to do within the sport. And Lance then goes on to show his awareness of where he is in the race. And
who pitted? Did everyone pit?
A couple of cars ahead pitted. Vettel stayed out. We haven't lost a position. And there was nothing to gain, so we just wanted some fresher tyres.
Okay, so it shows a driver interested in what's going on, what's the race situation. Okay, processing that information, seeing what's going on, absolutely fine. This is standard as what you'd expect. Having rounded turn 9, the race engineer says this.
So turn 14, do a hard left, the car is still on the outside. Hard left in 14, the car is still on the outside. There should be some debris there, and there may be some extinguisher smoke.
Which is good communication, guiding their driver through that situation. And we see the crane approaching Latifi's car as Stroll passes the incident. Marshall's there dealing with what's going on. So as Lance Stroll then crosses the start-finish line to complete this lap, this is a safety car was deployed. They pitted him at the end of that first lap. He's then done this out lap, having changed onto these tyres, and then this is the first lap beyond that one. So effectively, from the moment in time Latifi crashed, this is a lap and let's say a half on from that. Let me just bring it down here so I can.
Okay, do not follow the delta, no need to follow the delta. So the train is in turn 3, turn 4 now. Train is in turn 4.
Okay, which means that he's no longer totally speed restricted. He's got to be careful, obviously. It's a safety car situation, but he can speed up a bit to catch the back of the pack. Okay, that's what that communication is there for. And that doesn't take him long to do, because they're now going down the straight in between turns 5 and turn 6.
Who's in front of me now?
Sorry, Lance, repeat.
Who's the car in front of me? There's the McLaren and the Red Bull.
That's Ricciardo and Verstappen. Ricciardo and Verstappen.
So Verstappen will cut the queue, yeah?
Yeah, so when we're instructed, we'll both be going past Verstappen if they give us the instruction to unlap.
So Verstappen will cut the queue, yeah? So what Lance is aware of is that these lapped cars will be moved out of the way, and Verstappen will be on the back of Hamilton. He knows how these safety car situations work. That's the way it is. But he also knows that he's one of those lapped cars. so he'll be released too. So approaching turn 14 again. Well, this is 13 they're approaching. Race engineer says this.
There's a crane on the outside of 14, so hard left 14 again.
Okay, again, just keeping him aware of what he's going to be encountering. There is a lag on these messages, so actually he would have got these messages slightly before this, probably 3 to 4 seconds, maybe 5, 6 seconds before actually this moment in time. Okay, the quality of the audio deteriorates now, but hopefully you'll be able to hear this. This is lap 56 that we're now on, going down the straight between turns 5 and turn 6.
So they are not going to be allowed. So we will not be allowed to overtake. They will not allow us to unlap ourselves, Lance.
So the race will resume in this position?
Yes, we believe so.
Okay, so they get told that they're not going to release the lapped cars. There's no race engineer has yet said why. We've never heard once any of these race engineers saying, well, it's not safe to do that yet because there's marshals still on track and they've not completed the cleanup operation. They've just parroted what they've been told to say is they will not release the lapped cars yet. Not reason. No reason for it. And then the drivers are saying, so we're going racing like this. That's not in the regulations. That's not been permitted. That hasn't happened since 2012, the start of the 2012 season. So this indicates a meeting has taken place and these drivers have been informed that this could be a possibility ahead of it even taking place. Because somebody like Lance Stroll is not going to accept something happening like this unless he has been told it is possible to happen. And I'll tell you later on in this video why. But they're now being told that lapped cars are not going to be released. And so Lance says, so we're going to go racing like this. To somebody who knows the rules of the sport, somebody who is, of all the drivers, most likely to have studied what is possible and what isn't, Lance Stroll is of the belief now that that is a viable possibility when it isn't. So somebody has given him disinformation. There was some audio from his race engineer as he approached turn 9, but it was awful. What it basically consisted of was giving Stroll information about Ricciardo in front, the car that Stroll himself was challenging, or should have been able to challenge. Ahead of Ricciardo was Vettel. Again, these were people that Stroll was still in a race with. Ahead of Vettel was Leclerc. That rounded out the top 10. So, you know, these are the people that Stroll was in a race for in the hope of getting a world championship point. But I'll just play you what is spoken by his race engineer.
But Sainz and Bottas behind will be blue flags for you straight away.
So this is Stroll coming by turn 14 on lap 56. We've got the marshals that are on the track there. So here we are now at around about turn 8 on lap 57. So this is then what Lance is asking of his pit crew. Race engineer, should I say.
There's cars overtaking the safety car?
Not us, not us. Stay where you are, stay where you are.
So he's seeing something go on, and he's expecting he's part of that, as you would.
Safety car is in this lap. Safety car is in this lap. Cars behind will have blue flags. Cars behind will have blue flags.
I don't understand why I shouldn't be able to overtake the safety car.
You don't understand why you shouldn't be allowed to overtake the safety car. Safety car in this lap. Again, the race engineer, that is not authentic. That's not in the regulations of the sport, and yet as a race engineer, you have just communicated something as though it is normal to your driver. Yet, them 5 cars are allowed to overtake, but not you, and the safety car's now coming in. And the driver's going, I don't understand what's going on here. I don't understand why I'm not allowed to overtake. And then, once you are released, you're given a mandatory lap with which to catch the back of the pack. That's not happening. What's going on? Let me just take that back. Take it back 20 seconds. Here we go.
This lap. Cars behind will have blue flags. Cars behind will have blue flags.
I don't understand why I shouldn't be able to overtake the safety car.
Okay, so all of these teams, they're just accepting the rule break. None of them are complaining the fact that their drivers are being left disadvantaged by what the race director is doing. They are all complicit with what is going on, and it's not in accordance with the rules of the sport. And Lance is saying, I don't understand what's going on here. I'm going to play you this audio through from his final lap, and you need to understand how his race is impacted by this. Bearing in mind, he got put onto fresh soft compound tyres. We know what Verstappen was able to do with fresh soft compound tyres. You've got you've got the 2 AlphaTauris of Sonoda and Gasly. They are both able to make places on that final lap on those soft compound tyres that they've been put onto as well. Daniel Ricciardo has got soft compound tyres, he pitted. Lance Stroll has got soft compound tyres, he pitted. Ahead of Ricciardo in the race, you have Sebastian Vettel, who isn't on fresh tyres. You've got Charles Leclerc, who isn't on fresh tyres. And you've got the 2 Alpines of Alonso and Ocon, who aren't on fresh tyres. So the advantage that Stroll has, what chance does he get? Have a listen.
Okay, we need go 1, Lance. Go 1, overtaking from the control line. We've got blue flags for bottom for Sainz, blue flag for Sainz, blue flag for Sainz.
So rather than try and race Ricciardo, he has to allow cars
Strap 5, strap 5, strap 5.
Has to allow cars to overtake him.
Blue flags for the 2 cars behind, then we can race.
Okay, so he's had to have blue flags for Sainz.
Blue flag Stroll.
Sainz.
Go.
And Bottas.
Blue flags for the AlphaTauris.
And then blue flags for the AlphaTauris. So rather than race Ricciardo, he has had to let 4 cars go by him before he can even then start to race properly. And that's where he is on track, going down that straight towards turn 9. Now, also, you link in with that, the cars in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, they're well out of the way. They are 3/4 of a lap ahead. You've got no chance. Your race is over. You're no part of that event now. So at the end of that lap, which is actually Lance Stroll's lap 57, he takes the checkered flag because the leaders have taken the checkered flag, and even though he finishes a lap down. But we'll listen to the audio as he goes across the start-finish line.
Okay, Lance, that's checkered flag. That's checkered flag. We'll explain what happened. We'll explain later.
Yeah, man, what the fuck?
We'll explain later.
Okay, so straight away, here's race engineer. They know how to deal with Lance Stroll. Straight away, they say, we will explain later, because they don't want Lance Stroll outbursting. They don't want that organic reaction from Lance Stroll. And they got some of it with, yeah, what the fuck? Okay, because that is Lance Stroll's organic reaction to what has just taken place. And straight away, the race engineer, the Aston Martin team, Lance, we'll sort it later, we'll sort it later, we'll sort it later. We'll explain later. Okay, that is Lance Stroll's cue to, okay, just be quiet now. You know that you're in the public eye, and we will talk about this in private. And Lance responds to that. Now, what you will have seen is all of the teams and all of the drivers, and I'm going to go through the different drivers as well. So far I've done Norris, I've done Alonso, and I've done Vettel, and the communications between their pit crew, their strategist and the driver, and how the driver responds. Each of them, the strategist, the teams, have just complied with the ever-changing breaking of the rules, not calling it out, just going with it, and the drivers doing the same. The drivers kind of expecting the racing start, the race resumption, urging for the race resumption, even though it shouldn't have resumed, because they know ahead of the situation. You've not seen that with Lance Stroll. Now, why? And this is my analysis. I might not be exactly correct, but I'm going to draw on my life experience to try and extrapolate what I know as to what I see about Lance Stroll. I've worked in a secondary school for approximately 7 years. We had a big special needs department, and so I've encountered somewhere in the region of 100 special needs children who are to varying degrees on various scales of autism and other diagnosed special needs. The type of communication that Lance Stroll exhibits is very much akin to kids that I've encountered that are on the autistic spectrum. That is in no way a derogatory term. It is in no way a slight on Lance Stroll. It can be argued that to some extent we all have certain traits in that manner. And if you consider it this way, for some it is a case of processing the world in a very clear, structured manner. And that is something that I see seems to be apparent with Lance Stroll. Now, what you often get when you see these kids is a pure, unfiltered reaction to a given situation. They don't necessarily pick up on things like social cues or the dynamics of picking up on subplots and a seed to a role within that. They don't necessarily play a social game. Okay, what you get from them, if they see something that isn't as it should be, they object and they just state, well, that's not right. And I believe that's what we're seeing in Lance Stroll. I believe that's the way he processes things. He learns about things. So he's learned about what his role is within Formula One. He knows what he needs to concern himself with, and then that wasn't congruent with that. So he's asking, well, what's going on there then? Whereas the other drivers are willing to just go, oh, well, we kind of know what they've done there. What they were saying beforehand, yeah, they've done it. Stroll, rather than do that, he's gone, whoa, that's not right. And I admire it. I admire it. It's calling out the truth by being authentic. And I actually wish more people were like that. Had a clear sense of what was right and what was wrong, and be willing to call out what is wrong. Because I do say that this huge scale of what our personality types are labelled as, and the way that we all process the world around us, and the way that we conduct ourselves within the world around us, we all could be, to some degree, be labelled as being somewhere on some spectrum of relative autism. Okay, now those that their lives are hugely impacted by it may be offended by that. I don't wish to offend anybody. I'm just trying to explain the fact that different personality types and how people's level of processing may be. I'm just trying to say that often, from what I've seen, there are people that will process things in a very clear-cut manner. Clear right, clear wrong, and if something's not right, they will object. They will say, well, this is not in accordance with how I know these things to be. And they'll object. And that is what I feel Lance Stroll has done here. So, this is the situation. Lance Stroll gave an organic reaction. What we do know is that some of these drivers have reacted in a way where they have just played their role. And many of us, we can do that too. We can put ourselves in situations in life where we can play that role. Or we can make a choice. We can make a choice to stand up for what is true and what is right. You can choose your desires. You can choose to argue for something and try and represent something that you know isn't right. Or you can just be authentic and call out things that are wrong. And don't give a fuck about what anybody else thinks or says. If you know something's wrong, you call it out. Well done, Lance Stroll.